Good morning, 9:42. How many of y'all have any bad hair days? Spring, Aaron says, yeah. How about snowstorm talk? Yeah, that could be fine. Wind talk? That's fair too. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Friday, finally Friday. Oh my goodness, what a week it has been. Feels like a long week, right? All right, yeah, we're back on track to Snow Talk. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to a reality check. It's still winter, still February. All right, so a lot to cover on that today. We'll look briefly too back at some of those storms last night. Giving everybody a moment to get logged in here. Notifications all went out, so sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Everyone always gets mad. Hello, Wavy. 71 south. Boy, there's been a lot of crashes today. A lot of crashes. Please be careful out there. Usually the bright sunny days too are a little tough. That sun when's in your face like that. When I was on sunrise all the time, that was one of the bigger issues, that more crashes happen at sunrise and sunset than really in rain, because you can't see the brake lights of the cars very well when the sun's in your face. So reaction time, got to keep that in mind. Keep that distance, especially in the junction there, because that's usually when we run into problems those 2 times a day. So be careful out. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Friday. Thank goodness. It's get ready for the weekend. As we do, we are going to get back on track to a little bit more of a wintry vibe, of course, as we head into this weekend. That's been the trend. In the short term, the wind is one of the bigger headlines, right? All right, let's show you. Let's go live there into New Albany. Our flags are blowing. Now, I always say that when the flags are aimed to the left, that is a cold or a colder flow in general of cool. It could be cool air in the summer, but cold air, obviously, this time of year, that is flowing in. When the flags are aimed to the right, that is a warm flow into the Ohio Valley. So just looking at our SkyTrack cameras, which are available, by the way, not only in our stream, but on our website. Just when you look at those, they give you an idea of whether or not it's warm or cold out too. And of course, how strong the wind is. You see the poles hanging on tight. Where are we at, by the way, on gusts? Let's take a look. 37 miles per hour in Louisville, 41 up in Cummington. Last I saw your comment, yeah, they got up to 40. It was like 46 point something, which they round up in wind, so about 47 miles per hour there this morning. 38 in Bedford. 31 in Jeffersonville, 28 into Bardstown. It is a windy day today, and it will stay that way for the next several hours. Wind advisories are out for Indianapolis area, where the winds will be stronger today north. Not good news for those cleaned up from last night, but that in general area of Indiana under a wind advisory, and up around Cincinnati as well. We are not in the alert on that, but we'll get close. Our advisory level is 40, but you got to hit that several times technically to get an advisory. We'll get close at times. Obviously, we're already fairly close now. All right, so hang on tight. Use a lot of fair spray today as you venture out. Okay, so temperatures, by the way, I mean, they're dropping every minute. So we're actually, if you were out at sunrise this morning, we were warmer then. We were well into the 50s. We've dropped now to 49, 39 in Bedford. So when you add on to that, yeah, the wind chill is back. In fact, let me show you what that looks like. Let's see. Wind chill, 42 in Louisville, 29. 29 is the wind chill in Bedford. Yesterday was the warmest day in Louisville, 71, and we had 70 the day before that. Goodbye. No more 70s. Winter is going to be settling in here for the next few days. All right, before we get to that, I do want to mention yesterday with those thunderstorms, I've got a looping entire radar here. I'm going to try to slow this down a little bit and go all the way back and kind of go through. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but kind of play out how the day kind of went. Overall, the data didn't do too bad on the warm front side of things with our hailers that came in the mid-afternoon window into Louisville. It did great with the prediction of the supercells and tornado potential on the edge of wave country there in Indiana. Our concern was they would drift into our counties. They didn't, thankfully, but I was concerned. But they did poor on the evening round. They did not do as well on that. All right, so let me show you. Kind of rewind this. So here we go into the afternoon. These are our hailers, so I'm going to kind of go back and forth on time here. So this is roughly 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we got to about 2 to 3, and that's when the warnings came out. Let me zoom in a little more. That's when the warnings came out, and you guys got the hail quarter to some close areas, a little bit larger than quarter, into areas of Jefferson County, into parts of Bullitt there, into Nelson as well. You see the warnings that came out again right across Valley Station, PRP, and then into Bullitt County, Shepherdsville, Mount Washington, and then Cox's Creek area, and then in Lexington. And that was it. For a lot of you, that was the only thing, right, that you got to the thunderstorms yesterday was the warm front, period. But that did allow us to drop down into the 50s. So that was a struggle to recover from that because we ran out of daylight as the supercells were ongoing, which that's a blessing, trust me, as we know what the environment was like with that wind. We did actually rise back to 66, by the way, at 7 o'clock at night. We increased back up. That's not often you can do that when the sun's down. You climb that much, but that's how strong the wind flow was. Meanwhile, we have these supercells that were on the ground, tracking across Indiana. And of course, we know that what happened is it moved right into Bloomington last night evening in the 6 o'clock hour. It moved right there. In fact, look at the storm right before. We have these alerts now that pop in. I know you see the tag on that, but if you look carefully, you see the debris aloft symbol that pops with a little circle. There's 2 of them there. Our radar now will show when it detects debris being pulled into the storm aloft. So those will pop in automatically. So it was wild to see that pop in right before the storm, moved right into Bloomington, which was roughly right there about 7:16 p.m. as it moved through. Now, I will say that we had a lot of reports of damage in that area. Some of you have already seen the images of that. We have reports of people that were trapped in injuries, but I haven't had any confirmation of that today. So I don't think anything serious on that end. Let's hope not. But the Weather Service of Indianapolis is on their way, and they're going to be surveying Sullivan and Monroe counties today. So as soon as we get notification on that, we'll let you know what that ruling was. But mentioning because not only because Adam, are you in here? I didn't see the, I haven't paid attention to chat. But Adam, of course, as we know, is a big blog watcher. He lives up there in Bloomington. But this was the west side of Bloomington that was mainly hit the hardest. But a lot of your friends or family there. But look at how close this was to Lawrence and Jackson County and even Jennings. I mean, they were just scooting right along. I mean, I hated that it hit them, but I'm thankful for a lot of you that did not get into that path that are along US 50. And then it continued in, kind of weakened a bit as it continued off to the east. And then had additional rounds of just general thunderstorms, but they just added insult to injury because of the repeating nature of that. But as I mentioned, as we got into the evening, the thunderstorm coverage across Kentucky did not light up as well. It struggled a bit. Nothing that prompted warnings. You probably noticed the rain and lightning. So that part of the forecast did not verify as well. But the rest of it, in a remarkable way, and we've been showing data now for a few days, right? Showing those supercell tracks across Indiana, Illinois, Indiana, into Western Ohio. And the idea that a lot of people got that big heads up. Hold on one second. I got a spammer. I got a Twitch spammer. Hold on one second. How did I get a Twitch spammer? That never happens. And I can't ban them either. What? All right. Well, just ignore that. Don't click on anything. No, it's not a matter anyway. For those of you that can't even see the chat, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'll move on. So I had spammers in a while. Okay. So anyway, to have that much of a heads up for those supercells in Indiana, that was pretty remarkable. Which they last, the NAM or the HERD did awful. Didn't do good. No, it was not great on handling this scenario. Our Horizon model actually did really well on sniffing it out. And we have an internal weather model with the Weather Service that we use as well. It's not one that we can really display on TV. It's a little more complex on how it's arranged because it's designed for a lot of meteorologists to analyze it versus the public. So, but it actually did really well in the short range as well. I'm picking out the idea that we were getting into a scenario where it was going to be a little more lackluster in the evening. So we started adjusting our tone a bit on that as we got that data. But the Horizon model did well. The NAM model, not so well. It was too weak and too far north. But overall, I think some of the data we got on high res showing the supercells moving across Indiana did fairly well. So again, I'm just hoping everybody's okay. I hate there was damaging setup like this. We don't get those setups very often where you get potential for strong tornadoes and long track supercells in February. You can get severe weather. That's something we have almost every year in February. But an enhanced risk and long track tornadoes, you do not get that very often this time of year. So that's what really made this really stand out in a big way. Okay, so enough of that. We'll let you know since we get the survey results. Fair enough. You probably will hear before we do because social media these days, but we'll let you know. Okay, so today we got high clouds to the south. We've got a lower deck of clouds into Indianapolis. It is the zone right here on the edge of that in between. That's where your strongest winds will be today. And we're going to hold on to that strong wind again, 30 to 40 miles per hour as we evolve through the rest of the afternoon. So what about the upcoming weekend? I'm going to get right to it. Quiet otherwise today. It will start to get colder tonight. There could be a few sprinkles or flurries late tonight, early tomorrow morning. There's not a lot of moisture with this particular wave. Again, it's weak as it moves by before it gets stronger in the Atlantic, which I'll show you that in a second. But we talked about this a few days ago before we got into the severe weather setup about how this would transfer over and do this bomb cyclone kind of setup in the Atlantic. But as it scoots by us, it doesn't have a lot of umph to it. All right. It's a relatively weak low, but just enough moisture that I can't ride a sprinkle or flurry. Temperatures are, usually it's daytime, especially it's a little tougher to get a snowflake this time of the year. So I'm leaning more towards sprinkles. But anyway, not a big ordeal, but it will be colder. But as the system scoots by and gets in the Atlantic, it will get strong. It will then deepen our trough in the Ohio Valley. We will get colder on Sunday. Sunday is trending to be what looks now to be a sub-freezing day is when it is Sunday, and quite a bit of snow shower activity. As we head into mid-morning on Sunday, the snow will break out in Indiana and drift south. Hey, if you want a good day to be cozy, have the fireplace going, have some hot cocoa, make a pot of chili, Sunday's your day. Because it will be very much a festive day of flakes flying by. Temperatures, again, are going to struggle to get to the freezing mark. So we're going to ask, how much are we going to get? Well, in this scenario, we are battling the idea that we have been around 70 for a couple of days. So the warm ground certainly is going to play a role here in preventing much in the way of a big problem on accumulation. Ratios so far that I've been able to calculate look to be about 5 to 6 to 1 kind of ordeal as this moves in, which means basically you're going to have a lot of melting. So there will be cases where the rate is going to be high enough that you can get it to stick and cover the car tops, the grassy areas, the rooftops, and kind of coat things. Yes, I do think that is absolutely possible. But as far as are we worried about slick travel on roads, I don't see a concern right now for the daytime period on Sunday. I think that even though we're not seeing sun rays hitting us, the sun angle is higher. So we're still getting energy from the sun. So that still plays a role on pavement, tends to be a little bit warmer. And the ground obviously is warm, and that the dirt underneath the ground keeps the pavement warm, even though the air temperature is colder. The exception to all this, as we always say, is a bridge or an overpass or any roadway that doesn't have dirt under it, has nothing but air under it. It can then cool down to what the actual temperature is outside. So bridges and overpasses, those you got to watch for some of these snow showers to move in. They'll be very off and on. So we may get a burst of snow. It may coat the area. You may see a little bit of melting, and then you get another one, coats again, a little bit of melting. It's going to be on the struggle bus on accumulations here, but still we'll have flakes flying through the air. So it'll be pretty. Now, Sunday night into Monday morning, we'll need to watch that because we will get certainly down in the 20s. And if there's any still melting that is happening, or we got moisture in the roads, or even a few more snow showers that are lingering, yes, we could run a few slick spots in the Monday morning. No, I do not know anything about school. Don't ask me that. I don't think it's that level of a concern, but we'll trend it. It really, the system in the Atlantic is the boss. So it depends on how deep the system gets and how far west it is, because if it's a little too far east, then these snow showers are going to be a little more here in eastern Kentucky. But there has been a little bit more of a trend to bring them a little bit more into wave country. So we'll fine tune it over the next couple of days. But a shock to the system, right? It continues into Monday and maybe even part of Tuesday, but Monday mainly near or east of 65 as it will start to pull away. So it'll start to pull away those snow showers. And yes, that is lake effect snow off of Lake Michigan because the lakes have melted thanks to the warm spell. So now we're back to lake effect again after they froze over. When they freeze over, you don't have these little bands of snow that come off the lakes and reach into areas closer to our region, right? They tend to stay a little closer to the shoreline. But when they melt like that, then there's an opportunity for snow showers to go a little far. So that's the reason why they do extend a bit more into our region later on Sunday into Monday. All right, so that's the weekend setup, cold and blustery and a bit of a snow globe. So here's the upper or the wide view of the system on the Euro. And you can see as it moves over, here's where it starts to deepen. Now, there's still some differences between the Euro and GFS, as you'll see on where it becomes a much stronger system. It really, yes, it does matter on our placement here of snow showers of the 65 corridor or east, but it also matters for the big cities. They're really excited. They're really hoping it's close enough to the shore to give them just one heck of a snowstorm. But it could be just offshore. They could be just looking at it in the water, snowing like crazy, but not on land. So it'll be interesting. Either way, though, a lot of these snow showers will be around for areas of the Northeast. So, I think New York will get some snow, and then it'll curl on up. Here's what's interesting. After we get past that, Monday will be one of the colder days. But we get into Tuesday, there is another little clipper that dives into the Great Lakes. The Euro is pretty far north with this. GFS a little far south. Where we are, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me. We could get a few flurries on that on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night. Minor ordeal, but it's clipper moving on by. And we're going to have a lot of these northwest systems, by the way, because that's the general flow. Everything's dropping. This is very similar to December. And if you remember how December was, we got cold, right? Then we got snow showers. We got a few wet snow events. We had the 4-inch snow that happened, 5-inch snow in some areas. So we did get some decent little, coverings of snow there into December, but we didn't have major travel issues because a lot of it was a wet snow and a lot of it on roadways anyways wasn't a huge factor compared to what we had in January. So we're back to that again. I feel bad for the Northwest because we're back to heavy rain and snow again for Washington State, Seattle area, Portland area. They're back to the active flow as that jet gets flying in. But again, it will lead to low pressures that then move over the Rockies and then dive down. Now, here's what we got to watch as we evolve into next week and really for the next several weeks. This is going to be a thorn. Some of these, depending on the angle of the troughs, will be just clippers diving to our north, not a huge ordeal, quiet here. Some of these, one or two, may try to drop down and then dig into areas of the Ohio Valley or the Mid-Atlantic again, or just off the Carolina coast. That threat will be there. And boy, I'm telling you, that is a pattern that can get really interesting when it comes to snow this time of the year. You can get some big snows out of this kind of a pattern, but we don't know if they will actually drop down and dig or not. Some of the data says yes, some say no. Here is the Euro, the latest run. There's the clipper for Tuesday. Then we get into Wednesday. It is worth mentioning this setup for Wednesday. This one is not necessarily a clipper. It's a little bit more south, so it scoops up a little more moisture. This one, though, is going to have one heck of a wind scenario with it. Wednesday looks windy, probably stronger than today on the gusts. So we may be looking at like an advisory level wind here on Wednesday. And the wind will continue into Thursday, but we got a band of heavy rain. Now, I will say I don't see a severe weather signal with this right now because this looks to be what we call more of an Anna front type of setup where you get most of your instability and your heaviest precipitation on the other side of the cold front. So that tends to cut down on your severe risk, but it can be a very classic, still windy scenario. We can get some strong winds of that, but more of a classic heavy rain, cold heavy rain too that may set up as we into later Wednesday night and Thursday. Some of the data is trying to change this to snow as it even leaves town because you see the rain snow line pushing in. But I still think this could be a healthy band of rain, but a lot of wind for Wednesday into Thursday. So that will be one system we're watching. All right, let's say goodbye to that. Hello, see you later. The next one rolls in. Now, the Euro says no, this one is going to be more of a clipper. Stays to the north. Now let me show you. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Look away from the TV. Look away from the TV. Look away from TV. Look away. Oh, now look. Now look. Okay. So let me show you the GFS. And it shows, here's the bomb cyclone, if you will, a little closer to the shore. They have their biases. That's for them. And meteorologists on the East Coast, for them to stress out over that. I'm not going to worry about that one. But snow showers again on the backside. We covered that. Okay. The Tuesday Clipper. Okay. A little closer to us. We'll keep it 10% in just in case. But again, minor thing there. All right. So then we get into the Wednesday wave. All right. GFS is not as thrilled, although other runs of GFS do have heavy rain and strong winds. So this particular run's a little odd on that, but still the setup is the same. They look very similar. Low pressure will move in near Chicago and track toward Toledo. And we're going to get, this band of rain Wednesday into Thursday. Confidence is pretty high on that. All right. It leaves. So then it drops down the next low. Hello, wavy. Waterston at 71 there in the eastern side of Jefferson County. Crash. Okay. So then we get into the next wave. Okay. Well, this one drops down, but this one is a little bit more of a dig all the way down into areas of the Tennessee Valley. So see what happens now. It digs further south. It gets more of a snow component. This catches your eye, right? And this would be roughly on the first day of March. Welcome to March. And as it scoots by, it tries to allow this to be a southeast snow. Now, will this play out exactly like that? That may be a little suspect. I think the truth is obviously somewhere in between the two ideas, between the Clipper way north and maybe one that can dig south. But this is a setup, though, that while I'm not buying into it right now, I think it is a good example of what I do think we're going to be facing, not only for the 1st of March, but probably for mid-March and even the way it's looking now, late March. Let's take a look at the matrix. Let me show you that. This breaks up again the euro on these snow chances ahead. You can see the weekend, this weekend for Sunday. Yeah, minor amounts. Again, not a big ordeal there. We get into the Wednesday wave. A little bit of a hint there on that. Into the 1st of March here, we journey. And the euro actually, even though it had a Clipper idea to the north, its own ensemble, though, says, wait a minute, there actually could be snow out of this on the first day or so of March. So it's not totally ignoring the GFS idea. It's just not showing it directly on the model output. That's why these matrix maps here, these charts that we look at, I do think they're very helpful because they give you the possibilities and you got a trend from there and to see the likelihood. As I always say, you want to see this all fill in to build confidence. It's not filled in. It's not. There's a lot of gaps there. So there's only a handful of ensembles that agree, but you can tell the weekend's a little more filled in for the snow showers, right? On Sunday, this one's got a lot of gaps. But if that fills in, we could see something materialize. Okay. Here is the new long range euro that came out this morning into April. Oh, no. Yeah, here we go. Mid-March and perhaps into April. A little bit burst of a snow chance there. Interesting. It's a little bit more lit than I'm used to seeing for the Matrix. Usually I'm about ready to end SnowTALK by the time we get into mid to late March and switch over to Storm Talk for the rest of the season, right? But this year, I got a feeling I'm going to be doing whiplash. It's going to be a lot of back and forth because in between all of this, we will have warm spells and we may still get more thunderstorm scenarios that play out. I'm not going to rule it out, but we still will have cold attacks. We're not out of the woods on that, is what I'm trying to say. And I usually, by the way, I end SnowTALK when this goes quiet. When I see this completely die off, that's usually by the time I start to end it. Because when you start losing ensemble data, even one or two little lines, yeah, it's pretty much done. But this is not. This is all filled in. So I'm going to give it some time to cook. Here we go with the 10-day, and I'll get to your questions. And as we get to your questions, we got 51 today, but again, that was a little earlier. I don't know if we're going to be able to bounce back up to that this afternoon. We may. The wind's certainly going to make it feel colder, so ignore the number. Dress for 30s. That's what's going to feel like all day. Tomorrow, 47, but again, falling later in the day as well. And then a cold, blustery day on Sunday with snow showers and flurries that will linger into early Monday. And then the wind for Wednesday with a round of heavier rain that will get a little cooler there on Thursday. And what we'll do for now, as we get into next weekend, there is a warm spell in advance of whatever happens. toward early March. We'll keep it quiet, but I promise you, we're going to be watching it, and we'll just take it slow. This time of the year, I'm not as bold, despite popular belief. I'm not as bold on throwing out snow chances in the far out extended on our 10-day this time of the year, because boy, it changes fast, and this is a very fast flow. There's a lot of things that can switch on timing, and so I use a little more caution on that. So I don't hold back usually in January, but in February into March, I hold back a little more. All right, what questions can I get to? And I apologize because anyone else, I have really bad vision, so I'm doing this whole thing, not to get into my whole personal business here, this whole thing where I've got the monovision contacts now, and they're driving me a little nuts, where you have one eye it's far, one eye that's near. And it's designed that way by the contacts. So it's driving me a little nuts because I really have a tough time reading now. I can see things far away, but I can't see things very close. It looks a little blurry. So if I say your name wrong or say what you typed wrong, I apologize. Let's see. What'd you say there, Michelle? You can have it as long as in early mid-April, B-Day, it is sunny and 70. We'll work on that for you. Hang tight. Hey, Bryce, more thunderstorms and severe weather because of the warm-cold fight. Yes, that will be a play this season. I think initially we'll have the cold attacks will be obviously lessening in intensity as we move along, because the polar vortex is going to be retreating and find its little home for a while for the summer. So we won't have as much of a worry, but still last year, the polar pieces of the polar vortex anyway, they lingered all the way, if you remember, into really May. It took a long time last year to get out of that. This year is going to be interesting because we are switching the ocean pattern up, so we'll see whether or not the upper air pattern reacts to that as well. What'd you say, Dan? I want to wear shorts. Oh, you want shorts weather for March? Okay. Well, yeah. At times, I mean, yesterday, look at that. We had 2 days in a row in the 70s. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Oh, Adam, you saw when I put the matrix up. Yeah, I figured you would. I hope you're doing all right, Adam. I don't know if you commented earlier or not on what happened last night. What'd you say there? It was a miracle for sure. Lifted in a weekend right after it crossed I-69. Yeah, exactly. Glad you're okay, though. Glad you're okay. Any other questions on anything I've showed? Hopefully this all makes sense. I think it is pretty easy to understand, right? It's just that seesaw effect. But if you like that cozy weather, and some of you do, this weekend it's a good cozy weekend. Watch your TV shows, again, pot of chili, and just watch the snow globe there, especially on Sunday. And next week, again, we don't see a severe setup, but the only thing we got to worry about is the wind. If it gets a little too strong, it's general wind. That may be an issue for Wednesday night into early Thursday, but we will focus on that. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because I've talked a lot the last 36 hours. So I got to get ready for midday. So I appreciate you all. Have a safe weekend, everybody. I'm glad that everything worked out, at least for us, to prevent anything major from the storms there. That always is a good sign, right? You all take care of each other, and I will see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m. Have a good one, guys. See you soon.